Hey everyone, I wanted to make another video on sleep-related fears, how this really affected me, why social media tends to not understand sleep at a massive level, and why I think that planning your life around having good sleep is not really living at all, and you're just living a very, I don't know what word I want to use. Sad might be the correct word, because I was there. I lived that life. It's a very sad existence to where you're not going to go out and try new things. You're not going to go to a club, or you're not going to go on vacation. You're wearing blue light blocking glasses. I fell into all these traps. And it really was quite sad. I accepted it, but I wanted to change that because I didn't want to live like that. So before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button down below. Let me know what you think about this. And we can go from there and help you break this down in one-to-one calls, because we have a lot of people that come in with insomnia fears, actual insomnia, and they're all jacked up with many different belief systems that are fueling that cycle. So the first thing that we want to remember, the majority of people are not seeing sleep doctors in person. So they're getting their sleep information from YouTube. Now, it is important to remember that we have YouTube and we're no different than anyone else in the fact that we put content out there. But anyone can put content out there. And anyone can take a study with sleep and, you read it when you have OCD, because Googling and researching, and you become petrified. You're like, oh my God, this and that, this and that. So the reality is this. Let's talk about some realities. Sleep hygiene is primarily a myth. And when I say a myth, I don't mean it doesn't have benefits. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a myth in the way that social media convinces you that you need to have good sleep hygiene in order to be healthy. So I have never really slept well. Most nights, if you take all my broken up sleep and put it together, I might get 5 to 6 hours. And it's been like that for as long as over a decade minimum. There actually was a long period of time, which I don't recommend, when I was in grad school and I had a strong video game addiction, that I slept about 3.5 hours a day for 6 to 12 months. And I didn't nap. And I was, probably fueled up off caffeine, obviously, and I wouldn't recommend that. But I didn't die. I didn't drop dead. But then everyone's like, oh, but then it causes plaquing in your brain and Alzheimer's and everything like that. So the question I had to ask myself was, let's say you promised me 20 extra years of my life, but it's the back end of life, like 80 to 100, which aren't really that fun anyway from a perspective of you're having a difficult time moving around. And they're great years. There's a lot of people out there that say it's the best years of their lives. I'm not taking away that, but you can have a lot more fun when you're 30 years old than you can when you're 90 from a perspective of physical activity. That's just a no-brainer. But if you told me right now I had to die at 60 or 50 and live the exact life I live now, or live 20, 30 years longer, but I have to be a little bit safer, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't make that decision, because I think that's a trap. I think the reality is we all die. And as Albert Ellis says, the purpose of life is to have a ball. And right now we see a lot of people with the exercise, rigidity, imperfection, nutrition, rigidity, imperfection, sleep, rigidity, imperfection. And you're not really living at all. You're living in the basic sense of you're alive and you're conscious and you're moving, but you're not trying anything new. You're not going out late at night. I use my phone for an example right up until I go to bed. And I know many people that do. So hear me out here. The lack of sleep and exhaustion isn't usually the problem. Your perception on lack of sleep is usually the problem. And what do I mean by that is, I might be a little bit more tired midday than the average person. But last night was a great example. Slept probably about 5.5 hours in total. Got up this morning at 4:55 because I had one-to-ones in the morning. I had to go to a meeting and I just walked 5 miles, 8.5 kilometers with my vest on. I have more stuff to do, and then I'm not tired right now. Now, do I usually feel a little bit tired here coming up here? It's 12:30 right now and I'm filming this. And like 2 o'clock? Sure, but I'm not scared of that. Many people are building their lives off this optimal pattern, but right when I sit down and talk to them, I realize that's not the life I want to live. And this is the majority, 99.9% of all people on social media that talk about sleep. Doctors, psychologists, influencers. I personally don't want to live their life, and they personally don't want to live my life, more than likely. But I would have to imagine, from a biased perspective, that my life is way better. The way I see sleep in that sense. I'm sure they have many things in their life that are great. Because the last thing I want to do is it'd be like 7 o'clock. I have to make sure blue light's off by 8 o'clock and get my sleep blocking glasses out. There's never a need for sleep blocking glasses. Again, I understand why people use them. You got to get rid of them, especially if you have sleep-related fears. You got to stop taking melatonin for a while. I'm not against melatonin. I take melatonin maybe like 4 or 5 times a month. But if you told me right now that I had to stop taking it for a year in order to recover from my sleep fears, I would do it in a heartbeat. Wouldn't even be a question. Most sleeping pills, again, always speak to your provider, will instill the fear of not getting good sleep. And you have to break down the fear of what happens when you don't get good sleep. The reality is you might be a little bit more tired, but it's not the end of the world. It's your catastrophic views on being tired that's holding you back. That's what held me back. So again, what are the common compulsions, right? Constant melatonin, constant sleeping pills. Again, speak to your provider, important. Usually I never see a case of someone recovering from sleep-related fears when they're still taking sleeping medications, but we can understand why. And there is a time and place for taking them. Blue light blocking glasses has to go. You have to use your computer and your phone right before you go to bed. Sometimes drinking coffee at 6 o'clock at night, people get really bugged out about that. And we're not saying you have to do that every day as a habit, but there's been plenty of times where I've drank coffee at 7 o'clock at night if I was going somewhere, and I slept perfectly fine when I got home. Again, there's a lot more fear, and we work with people who have recovered from severe insomnia. We work with people who have had insomnia for a few years, all the way up to 20 years, many different sleep clinics, and they realized that all the information they were being told was unfortunately incorrect. And the information that they needed to hear was sit in bed, allow yourself to have panic attacks, and if that's your life forever, that's your life forever, and try to lean into that as best as you can. And then in time, you start to view sleep differently. If you told me right now I had to sleep from 12 to 5, that was the only times I could sleep, like my body wouldn't even allow me to, I would say, God, years and years of 5 hours of sleep is not going to be that good for you. But I'm not scared of it. Again, that's the biggest difference between acceptance doesn't mean agreement, and this is where everyone on social media is going wrong. The other thing about the sleep thing, it becomes almost cultish in a way where they're like, I got my blue light blocking glasses, so I'm better than you, and hey man, you want to go out for a beer? Oh, no, I can't go out for a beer, man. I got prep, I got bodybuilding prep, and I got to cook this and cook that. Those are all subtle forms of control, and that's not really a good way to live your life. Most people that are stuck in that life, even non-OCD sufferers, I don't think they enjoy it. I think they're afraid to let go, and they're like, I'm going to lose control, and I'm not going to have this and that. And many other areas of their life are out of control. As Rob says, they hone onto something that doesn't really matter a whole lot, which is the sleep hygiene stuff. I don't ever think about my mattress. I could use the mattress I have right now until the day I die. I wouldn't even notice it. Erica had to buy me new sheets after I think fucking 10 years or something. She's like, you're getting new sheets. So and that's just the way I view it. And that wasn't the way I viewed it, by the way. The way I viewed it was, as I always say, if there was a ticking time, so it's like, let's say this is 12 p.m. and this is 10 p.m., okay, on the scale right here, 12 to 10 p.m. Right when it got up to about 5, so we have 5, 6, 7, 8, every single hour, my internal thermometer would go, boop, you're getting close to the bedtime, boop, close to bedtime, boop, close to bedtime, oh my God. Until when I got to that 9 to 10 range in here, I was just so worried about not getting good sleep. And I was stuck in that cycle for about 18 to 24 months. Gradually got better, but definitely some big relapses and ups and downs where I became afraid again. The other ones too was, should I be napping? Should I not be napping? And you hear so much nonsense on social media based around if you nap, you're a weak person, or this and that. A nap is a nap. It doesn't mean anything about it. If you're napping every day for 3 hours, you probably want to change that. But I understand why people do it when they're suffering. I also understand why people nap a lot if they have 4 kids. I see it with my friends. I have a friend that has 6 kids, a friend that has 8 kids with a 9th on the way. All I think about is dollar signs and all these other things. And, they just, sometimes they'll be sleeping on, they're on the couch, their baby, and they're just asleep. And it just doesn't work that way. Mothers, not just single mothers, but mothers in general, know this very well. My first cousin had twins. I'm not very close to her, but I can imagine what that must have felt like from a sleep standpoint. Oh gosh, it must have been brutal. We have 2 dogs that wake us up all the time. My wife, if she came in here right now, refresh sleep. I don't even use that word. I think the term even refresh sleep is a problem because you're looking for optimal. I don't even use the word optimal. There's no such thing as optimal. The term optimal sets you up for failure because it sets you up for perfection. And that's not what you want because you're not looking for perfection. You're looking to make peace with your sleep. Now, before I end the video, I'm throwing things. Don't have to talk about sleep. I just had 2 coffees and a double shot of espresso. So, that's a good thing to do. At least it's only 12:30. Okay. And you got to have fun, guys. I mean, look at all the people on social media that are proclaiming the sleep hygiene and perfect exercise. They're not smiling and going with the flow. They're very much in that, this is the way my life has to be, and it's got to be like this. And again, great benefits with many things like the ice baths, meditations, but a lot of people just aren't living anymore. Besides the conscious state of like certainty compulsions all day. Certainty compulsions all day. Okay, so your goal is to become comfortable with lack of sleep and the possibility of not getting good sleep affecting your brain and all the stuff that people are afraid of. But let's just go from the fear of fear. You're activating event. You have poor sleep for the rest of your life. Your rational belief is, I don't like not getting good sleep. It's very frustrating, but too bad. How can I try to accept my tired sensations and change my perspectives on not sleeping in the future? Versus your irrational belief and mine, no matter what, I must get good sleep. If I don't get good sleep, my life sucks. And if I don't get good sleep, I'm going to die early. Okay, when I tell people, when you're doing your disputing, make it so grandiose and egotistical where you're like, I must get good sleep because I'm the most important person on earth, and my sleep and my blue light blocking glasses are the most important thing on the planet. And if I don't get what I deserve and I want, then life is terrible. Because you don't think you're speaking to yourself like that, but you are. You want to know how I know this? Because I work with those sufferers all day, and I'm one of them. So I had those same beliefs, and then you're in denial, and you're like, that's not really how I see it. And then when you really think about it, and you have that acceptance part where you're bringing down the denial aspect of it, you start thinking, it's really how I'm thinking. And then that creates more lack of sleep, depression, worthlessness, my life sucks, etc. So disputing would be, why must I get good sleep? Where is the evidence that I have to get good sleep? Okay? Now, this is where people get tricky. Where is the evidence that I'm supposed to get good sleep? Now, everyone throws 1,000 research articles at me, and I get it. I can tell you this right now. I really want you to think about something. Your life is not lived in the summary and conclusions of a research article. I'm going to say that again. Your life is not lived in the summary of a research article or conclusion or the data or any of that stuff. And I was surrounded by research my whole life. And I used it very conditionally to put people down. I'm smarter than you, etc. So yes, take some things into account. And by the way, I still like a cold room, and I still like a nice weighted blanket sometimes, and certain things, and but if I don't get those things, it's not the end of the world. I prefer them, but I have no awareness of I don't have conscious thoughts where I think I need to be in bed by this time. A lot of times, I was joking with Rob the other night. We were texting. It was 8 o'clock in the morning his time, and he hadn't gone to bed yet. Yeah, I'm throwing you under the bus. Rob's a night owl because he does a lot of one-to-ones during the time zones. And I go to sleep usually around 10:30 or 11. And I was joking to Rob, and I said, how many times I get in bed at 9:30? And I'm like, yes, I'm going to get 7.5 hours of sleep tonight. Because I wake up around 5-ish. And then I'll be down the rabbit hole. I'm like, guy gets his face ripped off by a bear. Or Rob sends me something of he'll be like, you and Momin. And it's two guys falling off a cliff. It's this is what we do, right? So we're humans. We still scroll. We still use social media, but it's much more balanced. And we use it up till we go to bed, and I really enjoy my life. And I think anytime I take anything too seriously in my life, it really holds me back. And sleep is one of those things. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We can help you. Phil@ocdrecovery.com. What we're doing, guys, is we're going to put the WhatsApp link down below so you can automatically click into the WhatsApp and email Phil and Rob right away. You can start talking to them about booking. We're going to make it a much simpler process. That way you don't have to do that. You literally go below, click direct with Phil. And when you message Phil, be sure that you say, Nick is cooler than you. Because I'm a child, and I act like a 10-year-old. And that's what makes this fun. So guys, it's always a pleasure. We got to laugh. And that's that. And the better, more comfortable you get with being tired and breaking down your fears, you can make some serious headway. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys.